Welcome to the Conservation Chronicles, the podcast for the Wildlife Trust for Lancashire, Greater Manchester and North Merseyside. In today's episode, we're going to be covering all things coastal with a particular focus on the Fylde Sand Dunes. We all love a walk along the coast. Some of you might have been for a walk in Blackpool and seen the dunes, but they are more than just lumps of sand and play a very important role in the work that we do. So in today's Q&A, I have two guests with me. I have Amy Pennington, who is our Senior Engagement Officer for the Fylde Sand Dunes project. And I have Andy Singleton-Mills, who's our Fylde Sand Dunes Area Conservation Ranger from Fylde Council. What a mouthful both of those job titles are. We'll get into everything that you do as well, which covers such a broad area. But first of all, Amy, why are our sand dunes so important?
Well, I think for lots of people that see them, they might just look like big piles of sand with grass growing on them, but they're so much more than that. So they're like living ecosystems that just hold so much wonder. So for us as a project, we say that they have three main reasons of importance. And the first one is for coastal defence. So the fantastic form of soft sea defence, and it's like a nature-based solution to a real project of a real issue of climate change. And so when people walk along the beach, I think it's important that they don't realise that it has that use. And there's so much prettier to look at than a big concrete sea wall. And on top of all of that, the fantastic habitats for wildlife. So there's lots of different animals, rare and endemic animals and plants that live there that wouldn't exist in any other habitat. And then on top of all of that, they're just fantastic for recreation. So people use them for walking the dogs or bird watching or just generally being mindful and, for their own well-being. So they're fantastic for coastal defence, for animals and for people as well.
Yeah, and, nice triple purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you just mentioned the great habitat there. I'm going to ask you, Andy, what sort of plants and animals can people see on the sand dunes?
More than you think. So as Amy said before, a lot of people see them as just a big pile of grass, sand and grass, but there's a huge variety of wildlife on there, from plants to birds to reptiles to amphibians. We've got a lot really, mammals as well. For example, we've got over 260 species of vascular plants, which includes over 10 species of orchids, which are, again, something that people don't think of, even in the UK, never mind on a sand dune system. We've got over 150 moth and butterfly species. And as Amy mentioned before, lots of endemics, which means they're only found in the UK. So we've got the Isle of Man cabbage for one, and that's found in the northwest of England, Isle of Man and southern Scotland, and that's it in the entire world. So if you think about it, that's quite amazing. We've got the sand lizards, which we've recently reintroduced. We've got frogs and toads, you name it, we've got it pretty much.
So you just mentioned sand lizards there. We're going to talk a little bit about them because they're endangered in the UK, aren't they? So
they are, yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
UK's rarest lizard. So we've got the common lizard and the sand lizard, and then we've also got some lizards that have come in from mainland Europe, which are more down south. But in terms of native, they're our rarest lizard. So we reintroduced them 6 years ago now. 411 went in total. We had two breeders who were licensed by Natural England to breed them, and they brought them onto site and we released them onto the dunes in 4 different areas. And then since then, we've been monitoring how the population spread over the dunes and their numbers as well. So yeah, it was a really, really cool project to be involved in. Really thankful that we could do it. So the work of the project has allowed us to reintroduce them onto the dunes. So without our work over the last 20 years or so, the habitat wouldn't have been suitable for them. But because of the work of the project and all our volunteers, it now is. So we've been able to reintroduce them, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing work. And you say that you've been monitoring them over the past 6 years. What's it looked like from when you first introduced them to now?
Well, for a start, they're really hard to spot. So
Andy's much better at it than me. I very rarely see them.
The numbers may seem low, but in terms of basically it's trying to find a needle in a haystack. You've got a large dune system and a camouflage lizard, which grows up to about 20 centimetres. And most of the time they're covered by the grass. So they only partially come out to bask in the sun. The rest of the time they're in the grass. So, but each year we've spotted more, which is really good. So that hopefully that means that there's more in general, like a larger population as time goes on. So fingers crossed that continues.
Amazing. And we often talk about when we focus on a particular species, we try to tell people its importance in the whole ecosystem, like it has a role to play. So for sand lizards in particular, what role do they sort of play? Is it, eating certain insects, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so the main reason why they got reintroduced is because over time we've lost our sand dune systems. So the population that we've got were bred from Formby, and moved over to us. So we've created a habitat suitable for them, so they've come over here. In terms of what part they play, it's more of a happy story that we've given them a home rather than they were vital to the ecosystem. But yeah, I mean, obviously they're amazing to see. They are predators, so they'll eat lots of insects on the sand dune systems. And yeah, that's the main thing really. We just gave them an extra home and another area to breed and move around.
But their home, their habitat didn't just come from nowhere, did it? You know, we've just talked about how they've been destroyed, these habitats over years. Amy, do you want to talk a bit about the destruction of them?
Yeah, so unfortunately, over the past kind of 150, 200 years, we've lost 80% of our sand dunes. And that's mainly due to the urbanisation of the coastal towns. So in the development of Lytham, St Anne's and Blackpool, there used to be tiny hamlets and little fishing villages, and it's just grown into like huge tourist towns now, which is amazing for the local economy, but less so for the sand dunes that used to exist because we built on the land that they would have been. And so sand dunes naturally want to succeed inland, but they can't do that now because we've added a really physical barrier. So you've got the hard infrastructure of the houses and the buildings and the roads, so they can't naturally succeed inland. So one of the main aims of the project is to reverse sand dune succession and to build the sand dunes back out onto the foreshore to make them more effective as a form of soft sea defence. And so that's what we're really aiming to do.
Yeah, and one of the ways that we've been doing that is a very unique annual event that we have, which is a personal favourite of mine in the calendar, and that is the annual Christmas tree planting event that you have. Now, it's not planting trees so that they grow, but we use them in a very interesting way to help rebuild them. So tell us about that.
We do, yeah. I think it's funny because whenever we use the terminology of Christmas tree planting, I think people imagine these huge like trees growing on the beach, and that's not what it is. So we use them so that they act as a sand trap, essentially. So we have 2 big trenches out on the foreshore, and then we put the Christmas trees in the trenches. We lie them at a 90-degree angle, facing towards the prevailing wind direction. And then the pines and the branches of the Christmas trees trap the sand in as it's blown in from the beach. And then it accumulates the big piles of sand, and it can work overnight. So we can put in a row of Christmas trees, go away, come back the next day, and if this wind has been really strong overnight, the first row or 2 can be buried overnight, which it is really effective. And I just think it works really well as a community event as well. So we have lots of people that come along. We have lots of local businesses and schools that get involved. And it's a real like event that gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling after Christmas, in the lull after Christmas when people kind of feeling a bit down and not really sure what to do with themselves. It's a fantastic event that I think lots of people love to get involved in. And it's so effective in that we can have thousands of people on the beach, and we we'll bury thousands of trees on the beach. And then a few months after, we can go in with our local volunteers and we can plant them up with dune pioneer species like marram grass and lime grass, and that helps to bind all those sand particles together so that we've created embryo dunes on the foreshore. And it is really effective because in some areas like North Beach, we've actually gone out by 100 metres, so we've got improved coastal defence by 100 metres, but also improved coastal habitat in those areas as well.
Yeah, I've seen it myself how effective it's been, because earlier this year, we're talking 2025 now, but I went on day 2. It's usually over a few days, isn't it? Yeah. And we were just checking the work that the people had done the day before was all secure and the sand, and they'd done a really good job, and you could see that it was already starting to build the habitat there. But like you say, there's so many people that are involved in it. All of that, a lot of the teams from Lancashire Wildlife Trust get involved, some corporate partners, but also there's so many partners involved as well. So who else is coming along to these events?
Yeah, so the project itself is a partnership. So it's a partnership between Lancashire Wildlife Trust, Fylde Council, Blackpool Council, and funded by the Environment Agency. And all of those partners come during the 3 days that we have the event. But then there's also lots of local businesses that get involved as well. So there's local businesses from St Anne's, we get Beaverbrooks, we get EE, Siemens. There's just loads of people that love to be involved in it. And because we've been doing it for such a long time now, we've been doing it for over 11, 12 years, it's become a real predictable event. And lots of businesses get environmental payback days where they say, oh, actually, I know this is coming up and I want to put my name down for it. So the dates haven't even been released yet, and I've already got people emailing me saying, how do I book on? So people are already chasing me about it, and people they love it. And I think it's fantastic that the local community really comes together for something that is great for people and wildlife.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's been going on for over a decade. So Tell us about how that's gone from when it first started, because I'm assuming there's loads more people that come to it now from the very start.
Yeah, so it started before I worked on the project, but I've been working on the project for 10 years now. And when I first started, it was amazing, but it was quite small scale. So it was, a couple of staff members with a few local volunteers, and we would just do what we could with the amount of Christmas trees that we had. Every year, the amount of donations of Christmas trees that we get more. So last year we had about 2,000 Christmas trees. And like you said, the amount of people that want to take part just grows each year as well, which I think is amazing. But we've almost become a bit of a victim of our own success, because it's now this huge event to try and manage, which is amazing. We never want to discourage anybody from turning up. So that's why we try and run it over 3 days, so that we can get as many people as possible involved and try and get through all of those trees in the 3 days as well. Otherwise, it'll be down to just the local volunteers to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think it's a great project as well, because a lot of people that come back each year, they can see what happened to what they did last year. And as Amy said before, you can see that yearly change in the areas that we've done the work in. So it's really good for them to come back and be like, oh yeah, like what we did actually did work, and it's doing really well.
The school groups love doing that, don't they?
Sure.
They love going on a little walk, because we do that in slightly different areas each year. So the school groups will have a walk along and have a look at the plants, and they try and identify the plant that the Christmas tree that they planted. And it works really well as an engagement tool
definitely.
as well.
Yeah, it's like people have got some sort of personal investment in it. They're like, I played a part in that.
Yeah,
and especially because you mentioned local businesses are getting involved, it feels like there's a real local passion there, which is, I think, one of the reasons why it's just so successful each year as well. Just mentioning the people side of it, like the local pride, that sort of thing. You also do a lot of events with the local community, like beach school and guided walks and that sort of thing. So tell me about that and how that came about.
Yeah, so one of the main aims of the project is to get the community on board with everything that we're doing, and we really try and put the community at the heart of everything that we do, and they are the driving force behind it. They're the reason why we're doing it and the reason that we exist. And so we really want to get them involved and trying to learn about the sand dunes and the sustainability and the amazing wildlife that they're there, and about the project and what we're trying to achieve. And so we do that through lots of different types of coastal events. So we have guided walks, which are free and offered on the first Sunday of every month, that people can just come along to. And they're a really fantastic educational tool, and they're run by our passionate volunteers that just love the local area, they love the sand dunes, and they love telling people about it. And the passion is infectious. It's amazing. So I would encourage anybody to come along to one of those. And then we also run lots of events, like family-friendly events. We try and do a range of different events that will tailor to the different interests and needs of the local community. So we run events for children that might be mud dipping in the salt marsh to raise awareness about the wildlife that exists in the salt marsh, or we do beach art, which is not necessarily a tool that benefits the sand dunes, but it's a tool that benefits the people. It gets people out onto the beach, away from the screens for a little bit, and just immersed in the beach and getting muddy and sandy, and that's what it's all about. We do rock pooling in the artificial rock pools in Blackpool, just teaching people that actually, yes, this is a concrete structure, but there can be some benefits from that as well. And we do other things like citizen science surveys, where we do egg case hunting. So every Easter we like to do an egg case hunt with a twist, and we take people out and they look for shark egg cases, shark skate and ray egg cases, and we can identify the species that they've come from, and then we submit that data to the Sharks Trust. We also do nurdle hunts, which are tiny weeny microplastic pellets that are found on the beach, unfortunately, and we can take people out and they can collect them, we can count them all up, and then we submit that data to Fydra, which is an East Lothian company who run the Great Nurdle Hunt. And so we do lots of different events that are tried to be tailored towards slightly different audiences. And then on top of that, we also do practical conservation events where people can come along and they can plant dune grasses, or they can do meadow management, or we can dig some dune slacks for greater biodiversity in the slacks areas. And then on top of all of that, we also do education work. So our beach schools is something that I'm incredibly proud of and I absolutely love doing. We work with a lot of schools from underserved areas. So lots of the children that come out to us either haven't spent that much time at the beach, and some of them have never been to the beach before. And it's a little bit like we just want to unlock that barrier for them and get them to spend time at the beach, enjoy the beach, because we truly believe that if they come to the beach and they absolutely love it, then they'll feel an affinity to the coastline and a need to want to protect it. So, and they're the next generation generations of coastal champions. So we want to instill something in them that lights a fire, that they go, I love this environment and I really want to make sure it's protected when I'm older.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And am I right in thinking that some of the young people that come to beach school are very local, but they still have never been to the beach before, even though it might be in walking distance?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had it before where we've had a group of school children out and they've said, oh, miss, you can see my house, it's just there. And I've never been to the beach before. And it's so sad. And I think sometimes we forget that can be the case for a lot of children locally. And so it is about unlocking that barrier. And yes, okay, they might never have been to the beach before, but today we're going to showcase all the wonderful things that are on the beach. And so maybe then when they go home that night, they'll sit down with whoever's at home and say, I've had a fantastic time at the beach. Please, can you take me back? And so that might instill something in them that they'll want to keep going and just keep discovering and learning more about it.
Yeah, it's about that next generation of nature champions, isn't it? Because I know I myself have been to some of the events that you guys have held, and the kids there are so passionate and they know all the species names, and like, when I grow up, I'm going to work as part of this project. So why is it so important? I know you kind of touched on it then, but for this next generation to come through, but also a project that you've recently worked on is the Blue Influencer Scheme, which is another amazing way, on top of everything you've just said, that's being pushed forward. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the Blue Influencers Scheme is a 3-year project which is funded by the Ernest Cook Trust and the I Will Fund, and it was specifically targeting 10 to 14-year-old young people from underserved coastal communities. And we do a lot of beach school work, but we do a lot with Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2, and then with college and university level students, and those 10 to 14-year-olds were really underrepresented. And so when the idea of this project came along, I knew it was something that we just had to get involved in. And the Ernest Cook Trust and the I Will Fund were amazing in being able to give us this opportunity. And so we are working with young people from mainly Blackpool, but underserved coastal communities in general. And we're bringing them to the beach. And the idea is that they will come to the beach knowing very little or even nothing about the beach. And after a few sessions on the beach and in the classroom, they'll hopefully know enough that they want to become a blue influencer, so that they will then go away and influence others. So it really targets that whole aim of the 1 in 4, in that we will engage those young people on the beach, but actually they'll go away and they'll tell their friends and their family about it. And so it'll just pass that knowledge on. And I think it's been a real journey for us. Some of these children have had some challenges, and they've really struggled, and they've had the idea that, oh, I don't want to be at the beach, it's dirty and it's muddy and there's nothing here. And I'll go, okay, that's fine. And then we just kind of give them a bit of time. And by the end of the session, they've had their shoes and socks off, they've been running about, they've been paddling in the water. And then at the end of it, we conduct little interviews with them where we talk to them about the things that they've learned. And the knowledge that they have retained is absolutely amazing. It's more than that I could have ever asked for. And so it's been a really valuable project, and I just love being part of it.
Yeah, it sounds so inspiring. And you mentioned the 1 in 4 there. So for anyone that doesn't know, that is the statistic that we as the Wildlife Trust are working towards in terms of societal change. So if you have 1 in 4 people caring about nature, taking action for nature and wanting to protect it, which is the work that you're both working on so much on the coast, that can hopefully start to bring back nature's recovery, which is something that we've been working towards for such a long time. But I know that all of this amazing work that you guys are doing is not easy, and I know that there are a lot of challenges with this sort of work. So Andy, I'm going to come to you first. What do you think are some of the challenges in this role, in this project, in these communities?
I think, as we discussed before, it's it sounds silly. You think of a sand dune, you think it's off in Scotland somewhere, there's nowhere around it, nothing around it, but we're such an urban project that people literally go out the front doorstep and they're on the sand dune system. So we've got that pressure from the general public, the local public, but also it's a tourist destination. So we get thousands of people coming in the summer. So for us, it's trying to manage public on the dunes, so where they walk, so we try and put some fencing in to guide them and leave some areas more protected. We've got lots of signage, haven't we, up there to say, like, respect the dunes, pick up your dog poo, things like that, keep your dogs on the leads. So, public pressure's a massive one, because we'll get risk of fire as well, so we get quite a lot of fires in the dunes. So in the summer, even though you think northwest of England's very wet, the sand dunes become really like a tinderbox. So anything from like a barbecue or a thrown away cigarette can set a fire and can cause real big damage on the dunes. So those are quite a lot of our physical challenges. And And then invasive species, which happens to come across from all the parks. The Victorians brought a lot of stuff over and decided they want to plant it here, there and everywhere. So a big part of the volunteers' role is to remove a lot of invasive species from the dune system.
What sort of invasive species are you removing?
So we've got sea buckthorn, which is native to the UK, but it's from the East Coast. But what that does, it just grows like crazy, outcompetes everything. So a lot of our native wildflowers get outcompeted, which is a real shame. So we take that out. We've got Japanese rose, white poplar, and we've got some knotweed as well. So that pops up every now and again. So those are our 4 main target species that we try and remove. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work trying to remove those
species. A lot
species,
of work for the volunteers, yeah, for sure.
Easy.
No, definitely not.
What about yourself, Amy? What do you think are some of the challenges?
I think funding and capacity is a big one. Obviously, with environmental projects, funding is key. We're luckier than most in that we get 5 years funding, but it's always quite difficult to obtain that funding. And capacity is another one. Like I mentioned before, we've already mentioned all of the huge work that we do, from the engagement to the education to the practical conservation to the volunteers, and it's more than just 2 or 2.5 full-time jobs. We could actually have a huge team working on this. So capacity is a big one for us. We would love to have a huge team with lots of people and then engage more people and have more people come to the coastline and learn about it. But we would need more funding to be able to have huge extra capacity to be able to get those numbers. So that is a challenge.
Yeah, it is a massive challenge. And this work that we do also without the help of the volunteers, without the help of people, it would be impossible really. So it's amazing that we've got the support of local people as well. If there are people who are interested in helping in some capacity or wanting to learn more about the amazing sand dunes, some of our listeners might not live very close to the dunes, but they still want to do something to help. What can they be doing? How can they learn more?
Yeah, well, I think it's more about education. It's just learning about the dunes. There's lots of books and good material online that you can learn. So if you are of the idea that it could just be a big pile of sand, hopefully just listening to this podcast is a great first start. But then there's lots of reading material that they can go away and learn more about. We have a social media page, which is the Fylde Sand Dunes project. They can go onto there and the Lancashire Wildlife Trust social media pages, and they can learn lots because we post regularly about all the work of the project. And then it's just a case of spreading that knowledge and that information with friends and family, because you might have learned a little bit about it, but we're learning by having these conversations and just bringing these conversations to the table. So by them spreading the word with lots of other people, that's a way that it can really benefit the project.
Yeah, amazing. So hopefully people can go online and learn lots more, and I'm sure there'll be lots of things to share about. They can come to events if they'd like to, but also, signing things like petitions for protection and that sort of thing. There's loads going on that people can get involved with.
Absolutely.
I'm going to end with this question, which I always love asking people. What is your motivation to do this job? Andy, I'm going to start with you.
Good question. I think for me, with the role that we've got, as Amy said, it's such an urban environment. It's trying to protect what we've got there. So we've lost 80% of the dune system in Lancashire in the last 150, 60 years. So for me, it's protecting what we've got, enhancing what we've got, making it a better environment for wildlife and nature, but also incorporating the public into that. So allowing it for a space for both nature and for the local public, I think is where my passion is, and also to giving nature a home and projects like the sand lizard reintroduction. So doing things like that, yeah.
What about you, Amy?
Well, I'm a philosopher. I absolutely love the sea, and I have grown up always feeling like it's always been a part of me, and I grew up being on the beach and going out and doing rock pooling as a young child, and I think sometimes you don't realise how important those situations are, and I always knew that I wanted to work on the beach. And thankfully, I have ended up in a job that I absolutely love, and I love doing it, and I love kind of passing on my knowledge and passion for it onto other people. And what I absolutely love about this role is just the little nature moments, just having a child on the beach and them seeing a crab for the first time and their face absolutely lighting up, and you're thinking, I've made a difference. I've made a difference to that child's life. And they're going to go away and they're going to talk to people about it. They're going to tell their friends and family about it. And then they're going to be, because passion is infectious. infectious, isn't it? And then they're going to be excited about it. And so what gets me out of bed in the morning is just knowing that we're making a difference to the local community and, as Andy said, to nature. And I just think that nature is amazing, and nature has a really amazing way of tackling all of these big issues like climate change. It has its own way of dealing with those, and we just need to give it a helping hand.
Amazing. Those are such good answers, both of them. It's been a real pleasure having you both on. So thank you so much, Amy and Andy, for joining us on the Conservation Chronicles.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you will take up some of the actions to learn more about the sand dunes. We will see you at the next one. If you'd like to find more about all of the amazing projects that we work on, you can sign up to our newsletter and also become a member of the Wildlife Trust so that you can support amazing projects like this. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you at the next one.